Amazing. So let me get started. So quickly, small presentation of myself, VP Industry Solutions of O9. I'm leading our global manufacturing verticals. It's a kind of a mix of planning and technology expertise, and we are supporting the challenges of our different customers from different industry perspective. And I spent 20 years in supply chain consulting, leading the global supply chain planning practice of EY, and then also a stint into the industry as an SVP group supply chain. So let me get to that topic about why are many of the FT 500 companies rethinking their integrated business planning. And actually, we do discuss a lot with a lot of them, and that's why it's kind of inspired us into this discussion. Now, if I move to the next slide, one of the things that we are discussing a lot with our customers is why Amazon is actually so good at what they are doing, right? And everybody's fearing Amazon, but actually it's Amazon on the e-commerce side. It's Uber, it's Airbnb. I mean, it has all those players which are, let's say, technology native companies which have embedded already the technology right into their operations. Yeah, they might do something physically, and like Amazon, it's about distributing and selling products everywhere in the world. But what is the key advantage for them is this capacity they have to connect customer knowledge and digital customer knowledge in real time, understanding what's happening into the market directly with the supplier knowledge and what's happening with their suppliers, right? And to do that, you need a capacity like an AI ML brain to make the connections between those things together. And having in the middle of your company an integrated business planning platform that can, with the right analytics, connect real-time demand shaping and real-time supplier collaboration, and making the link to take decisions with the right algorithm that also we know Amazon is very prone to do, is absolutely key, right? So there is a strong learning into that we want to come, and we are transmitting this to our customers, because many people are asking the questions, what should I do? What can I do? What Amazon is doing great. And I think, and we believe it strongly, companies need to rethink their strategy around the technology side, and they need to become a tech companies. And I'll come back to that later. Now, the reality of planning, and that's where we go to IBP, is actually a bit more cumbersome and more glory, I would say, or less glory, actually. And we know that there is so many disconnects between what commercial planning and the front end of the company is doing, what the financial people are also doing, and then what supply chain planning is doing. So it's not just about supply chain. IBP, if we think about it, is definitely not about supply chain. It's about decision-making and business planning, integrated business planning. And those processes today, and in most of the companies, and only in very few, are connected. Most of them are disconnected, and they are slow, siloed, using a lot of spreadsheets to actually connect the dots together and make information being available for people to take decision. Now, there is also an interesting thing, which is, many people say, hey, I'm data rich, but information poor. I would say many companies are actually context poor, right? So there is a lot of content, but the question is, how do you bring context around this content for people to take good decisions? And that is where those setup, these ways of working are actually, I would say, even punishing companies across the world for not being fast enough, not being agile enough to actually take decisions. Now, how do we look at that? The key thing is first of all, the capacity that you need to have as a company to bring all your planning processes and decision-making processes into one platform. And that can be from long-range planning to rolling financial planning and annual operating plans, target settings, to your monthly business planning, and then to your operational planning. So that basically means that you can have from zero today to tomorrow up to 36 months, 5 years horizon, one way, one platform, one way of planning in an integrated way, all those processes. Of course, it's touching many different people in the company, from the top of the company to the planners down in the shop floor. But we also know that this disconnect across the time horizon and across the organization, which is creating the struggle that we have been already talking about through the COVID situation. So from our perspective, going into what we would call a next generation IBP, which I will talk about now, is really about connecting those processes and having the right technology to enable those processes to operate in the same platform. Now, there are two key elements which we think is absolutely critical. One is to have the capacity to run a commercial planning process. So coming from a supply chain company, you would say, okay, why are you talking about commercial planning? But what we realize is that you cannot run IBP correctly if you're just taking it from the angle of supply chain, right? How many companies today are still, let's say, having a demand planner in the supply chain organization, which is spending time trying to guess what sales and marketing are doing on the market side? And I think the only way to get those things to work is that actually sales marketing organization, the commercial organization, is capable or is able to run and plan on the same platform. Why do we think it's important? Because we want to be able to understand how we are going to build the annual plan, how we are going to drive the next year's growth. It's a top-down category planning, it's a bottom-up account planning, and it is important as well down to monthly and weekly commercial gap closure to be able to detect the gaps and understand how we can reach the targets. Looking at the situation today, we see many organizations struggling with a huge heterogeneity of data and information. We can talk about marketing, promo, pricing, distribution. All those information are actually residing in some Excels, in some TPM tool, in some BW tool. But at the end of the day, many people spend a lot of time reconciling this, and planning is also a burden in a certain way, or it is actually lacking efficiency. What is important and what type of value do we need to deliver there is actually the capacity to have one system of record for all your commercial data, so that with automated collection, is to have the annual commercial planning being simplified with analytics. We spoke about AI. Again, AI without data is no AI, right? So the first thing is to have a capacity to bring everything together into one data model. Gap detection and the capacity to understand what I am doing today. And I mean, if you think about CPG companies, they are usually spending between 15% for the best ones, but 20%, 23, 5% of their revenue into trade spend, into commercial activities. So this is a huge amount of money, which is sometimes left on the table for not being too efficient. Now, P&L and cash flow scenario projection will definitely be needed, and the capacity to drill down to understand by category, by account, and by market the effect of your plans. Finally, collaboration is absolutely key. You need to have a platform where where people can collaborate, share activities, and make sure that they are aligned into the decisions they are going to take. Be it at account level, being at regional, market level, regional, global level. We all know that complex 50 FT 500 companies, they are global. They have a hierarchy of products which is complex. They have a hierarchy of geographies and market access, which actually makes them a daunting task in a way for commercial planning to happen. When you have commercial planning together with IBP, then IBP becomes a true IBP, where you can start to really drive profitable growth, and you can then more reliably achieve your commercial and financial business plan. We know that all those companies are publicly traded companies for the majority of them. They have to answer back to their stakeholders and their shareholders. And one of the key measures of if a company is well run in a way is to be able to avoid profit warning in Q3 and Q4. And usually why profit warning are coming Q3, Q4 is that actually people were pretty optimistic when they did the budgeting plan. And then when reality hits around mid-year and next year, then they're scrambling and huddling to find solutions to try to close the gap, but then they end up with doing a profit warning. I think what we need to avoid that, right? We need to be much faster at detecting the risk and the opportunities you have in your plans, not just demand, but demand and supply. You need to improve your commercial forecast. We talked about it. Real-time scenario planning with P&L impact and supply chain P&L impact is absolutely key. So the key question is, can I realize the commercial plan that I'm being asked from the commercial organization, and different plans of them? And for the ones that I can realize, maybe there are certain parts of it which requires demand shaping back from the commercial organization. Understanding the root cause of the gaps, how many times actually planners are spending to be able to explain back to their management why they could not achieve the results of the forecast or the plan that they had foreseen. And that is time that is lost instead of concentrating on what should I do next to bring the better result. Finally, in an IBP process, it's a decision-making process. And decision-making needs to happen with two things. One is that it has to be fact-based. So that means fact-based will drive accountability, and the execution needs to be collaborative. So you want to make sure that everybody is aligned around the plan to make sure that you deliver the results. So that's what we see from a next-gen IBP platform and processes. Both are together. Now, I would say from my experience, technology was not helping companies for many years because the technology was not able to model that complexity of information, to handle so much information that a really true IBP process would need. And I think we are now in a different area, starting where we can actually achieve this now. Moving forward, the way that it would work is a capacity to have a commercial planning IBP, to have a supply chain IBP, and both of those actually contain a lot of capacity for simulations, for risk analysis, with what-if analysis as well, understanding the true cost to serve about how your supply chain is operating. With that, you come together with different scenarios, and you can then understand which commercial scenarios you want to go with and are actually achievable, which allows you to get right into kind of executive SNOP to be able to discuss the financial output and which key decisions you are going to approve. Now you see we are a bit away from the 5 steps of Oliver White with product review, demand review, supply, integrated reconciliation, and MBR, but in reality they are embedded into this. It's not that different. Commercial IBP is product portfolio review and demand review together. Supply chain is actually supply review itself. The scenario building and the demand scenario is about reconciliation, and then we have the executive at the end. But clearly, what is important is that those elements are happening concurrently in a way, and are allowing a customer to always come back to the starting point if they need to, because the final output is not the one that they're looking for, or that the situation has changed. Now, concretely, how does it look into the O9 platform? That's an example that we are actually running into some of our customers already, where we are looking at a storyline around how a GM, a CEO, or president of a division, a CEO of a company would like to understand how's going on in his company. And it looks like you can discuss with your team, and that's a team of commercial, financial, supply chain people, procurement people, etc., about where am I from my revenue side with my profitability, and if I am trending down, so I still have a gap to close, then I would like to understand where my problem is. Yeah, problem is probably coming from different brands. So you are looking at different brands. Where is the gap between the brands and the plan? That might actually also come from different accounts, where you also want to understand which account is driving the gap, so that I can actually push specific accounts. Finally, you can ask your commercial team and ask them, okay, now I have a gap with those brands, with those accounts, can you come with a plan, yeah, or different plans? And then comes a scenario of gap closure scenario when you can already add additional revenue for additional actions or initiatives into your market. Trade, promo, marketing activities, pricing, or if you're in a B2B business, going after some key opportunities into your funnel and your pipeline. Now, having done that, the second question, or the next step, so to speak, is what is my supply chain response? How can I actually answer from a supply chain perspective, but at which cost? So where will be my constraints? Yeah? And from depending on the type of constraints, how much is going to cost me to remove those constraints or to flexibilize those constraints? And what will be the difference in terms of financial results from revenue, margin, cost, or service level that I can get out of the current running scenarios that I have. Finally, you need to take decisions. And an IBP process is a decision-making process. And so therefore, the decisions are around approving certain initiatives on the commercial side. So what is going to be the impact on my trade spend budget, on my marketing spend budget on the commercial side, to approve those additional initiatives to boost demand, but also what is going to be the budget decisions or the approval decisions I will take in terms of additional shift in my manufacturing, of using additional suppliers for contract manufacturing or third-party co-packers because I need to have this extra capacity, or to find or to use more costly mode of transportation, maybe air freight something, because that would actually allow us to sell more, and we understand the cost impact for that, but also the service level impact for this. So it's all about taking decisions, validating the plan, and then aligning the organization to execute, because an IBP process can only work if you can then, after get into your operational planning, from operational planning, you're ready to execute and make it happen. So that will, in a way, end here my presentation around why are we looking at next generation IBP, and indeed, how does a technology like O9 can actually look at this. I just want to add 1 or 2 slides about O9 quickly for people to have this as a reference. Thing is, these are the kind of list of key customers that are trusting O9 with their digital transformation. And as you can see, it's a large list of customers which are across various industries, from, of course, CPG industry, as you can see, with the likes of Avon and Nestle, but also retail with Walmart, or manufacturing like Pirelli or General Electric, even publishing company like Pearson or ExxonMobil in oil and gas. So the companies like those companies are trusting O9 for their capacity to help them transform. And what I just want to conclude is the fact that we definitely look at a different world. We spoke about platform, and we are definitely onto this trend as well. Platform has to look at 2 different or 3 different things, right? Customers need to look at the fact that they have to engage with their customer. That's one side of the story. Customers need to think about their product innovation, which is another platform, and it also brings, and we spoke about IoT, but that's something that is going to be embedded. And then operations automation is a key topic as well with the execution side. But what we are strongly believing, and O9 is definitely playing right into this, is that companies need a digital brain that will contain knowledge and analytics, which will be powered by their integrated business planning. And those things, when they are put together, this will allow companies to take much faster decision, more integrated decision, and that will actually be the source of the new added value generated by them on a daily basis. So on that, I would like to thank you, and we'll leave maybe the stage open for some questions.